photos are. Cool.
The Bob Graham Round is a long-distance fell running challenge in which runners attempt to summit 42 of the highest peaks in the English Lake District within 24 hours. The round was established by Bob Graham, who in 1932, at the age of 42, completed a circuit of 42 Lake District fells.
Looks big from here.
It is big. It is big.
It has since become a classic test of endurance and somewhat of a pilgrimage for the roughly 200 runners who attempt the challenge annually in order to become members of the Bob Graham 24-Hour Club. I had the opportunity to spend the entire month of June in the Lake District, training and preparing to attempt the 42 Fell Challenge the weekend of my birthday in celebration of turning 42 myself.
Ready, set, go!
But I came not only for the physical challenge, but also to immerse myself in the community, discovering the rich history and culture behind British fell running.
That's the next one.
And if all goes as planned, the weekend of my birthday, I'll return to Moot Hall in Keswick before the clock runs down to become just the second Canadian finisher of the Bob Graham Round.
Well, it's Sunday morning. I had a really good night's rest. Had a really nice curry last night, followed by an English breakfast this morning.
After flying from Vancouver to London, I rented a car to make the roughly 6-hour drive across basically the entire country, which gave me a chance to spend a night en route in Warwick so that I could visit the castle there. As well as Stratford-upon-Avon, the birthplace of Shakespeare. But while I could have easily spent the entire month that I had in England exploring the country's history, I was here for the fells. I decided to base myself for the first 2 weeks in the market town of Cockermouth, just outside of the park to the northwest. Highlights include Cockermouth Castle, and it's the birthplace of poet William Wordsworth. I knew that it would be less busy and much cheaper than staying right in the park. Just a little further to the west, I went to visit Ricky Lightfoot, a legend in both fell running and international trail running.
So I'm Ricky Lightfoot. I work as a firefighter. I've got 2 children and I've lived in Cumbria on the edge of the lakes all my life. This is just from Blencathra Fell Race in 2009, just coming off the summit. But yeah, 2009, it was just after I'd won Zagama. I live on the edge of the sort of national park. I've got a 15-20 minute drive and I can be on the fells, and I've got like a 5-minute run and I can be down on the coast, and I couldn't think of anywhere better to live.
The Lake District National Park is in the northwest region of England, near the border with Scotland to the north and relatively close to Manchester and Liverpool to the south. Its climate is influenced by the Irish Sea, leading to higher rainfall than much of the rest of England, which has shaped the lush green landscapes that the area is known for. Its natural beauty and its accessibility has made the park a highly popular tourist destination, attracting more than 18 million tourists each year. A few days later, on Wednesday, I had my very first fell race, which would climb to Blencathra on the first leg of the Bob Graham Round. Okay, so it's the night of the race, my first fell race. I've got here nice and early. I've got about an hour to do my gear check. There's quite a bit of kit required. Today's a beautiful day, of course, not a cloud on the sky, but you can get bad weather in the fells and it can move in pretty quickly. So yeah, full rain gear, map and compass, because courses and fell races, they're not marked. I'm expecting to see a couple of friends here, Jacob, who I know from Vancouver, as well as Rowan, who I know from Instagram. So I'm gonna keep an eye out for them now as I go get checked in and pay my hefty £5 registration fee.
How are you doing, Jeff? Rowan,
Right.
good to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, how you doing?
Right? The trail race is marked. You just follow a path. Fell race, you have checkpoints, and it's your choice to go between the checkpoints however you want. Okay. Some races, this one is pretty well defined. You follow, it's a pretty well defined route, pretty well established. Some races you can just, people are everywhere, and Yeah, it's a big route choice depending on what kind of terrain you want.
Yeah.
If you want to just send it straight down, or if you want to take the path, there is a bit of that on this.
Okay.
On the descent from Blencathra, some people follow the path.
Yeah.
Straight line it through the heather.
Yeah, nice.
Much better.
Yeah.
I've never done anything this half the fells, I don't think.
We did one a few weeks ago in
we did
in
one.
Keswick or Blackstroke,
Oh yeah.
but not a bit shorter though. That was straight up and straight down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're crossing from Bowscale to Blencathra, will be super boggy, but at the moment I think it's just totally dry.
Normally it's.
Yeah, normally it holds a lot of water. All these northern fells hold a lot of water.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize how lucky I am. Like everything's just bone dry, beautiful. But normally it's just a completely different story. Okay, here we go. Just a couple of minutes. I have a feeling I might be a little too far up front here, but let's see.
Golden rule of fell running. If you retire, it's not good enough to just tell a marshal. You must come back here and tell the finish line marshals. Just look out for everybody. It's fun, it's very serious. It matters immensely and it doesn't matter that much. So if someone needs help, please give them help. Alan, we ready? Sam is ready. Set, go!
All right, here we go. First climb.
Fell running is basically, it's the fastest person to the top and back down via just the quickest route possible, where trail running obviously tends to be on a firm trail or a flag course. So that's the biggest difference with fell running. You can more or less go anywhere. Whew.
To the first hill. A little bit of flat running now. Can catch my breath before the last climb here. Top of the ridge. Okay, coming up the first drink over here. Thank you. Fell running has deep roots in the rural traditions of the UK. It evolved from a necessity for shepherds and farmers to traverse the hilly terrain quickly, and became a sport in its own right in the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
I find it really hard to pace these short races. I always want to pace them like they're a 50K. I find it hard to keep the gas down. Thank you.
It's tough, eh?
Oh, it's mental. Honestly, when I was running that bit, it felt like how I would feel running from an apocalypse.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. There we go. Woo! Last climb up ahead onto that ridge there. Oh, it's just really starting to hurt, but it's almost over. All right, this must be the last checkpoint up here. And then it's just down to the finish line. Well, that's how you do it. This guy's bum sliding. Thank you. Sorry, I'm gonna Well done, mate. Crazy. That was crazy. Hey, that downhill.
I don't know how you
came back to life. That was tough.
That was tough.
That was tough.
I don't know whether I got a 2-minute PB or 2 minute off my PB.
Okay,
I
but you were
can't
close.
remember what my best time was.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. I had a good race. Enjoyed it.
Let's see how I did here. What was your position overall?
32.
32, nice.
Happy, and it's a 3-minute PB as well, so.
All the way down there. Number 96. I'll take it.
That weekend, it was time for my first big reconnaissance of the Bob Graham Round.
So it's Sunday morning, and I just arrived here at Dunmail Raise, which is the end of leg 2. We're doing a car drop here, then we're going to drive back to Keswick to start our recce of the first 2 legs of the Bob. But I can see a crew over here parked on the side of the road. I suspect waiting for a runner or two to come over the hill on their own Bob.
Yep, they set up at 11 o'clock
Yep.
last night from Moot Hall. It's now 7:20. Yeah, we've had a night sitting in vans, waiting, feeding, that sort of thing. So we're scanning the skyline for the guys coming in, yeah.
And when do you expect them?
We expect them 4 minutes ago.
Okay.
It's exciting just doing this side of it, you know. I love it. They had to go last year as well, and it's just great. You know, it's life affirming, isn't it?
Yeah.
How are we doing?
How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, good to see you.
Still fell.
So this is it here, eh?
Yeah. Straight up there. It's not as bad as it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're leaving from Dunmail Raise, which is the end of leg 2, and we're going to go to Keswick and start at leg 1, and then we're going to run all the way back.
The round starts and finishes in Keswick, a busy hub for tourists exploring the northern lakes and fells. It passes 4 roads where runners can get support from their crews and change pacers. And these road crossings are essentially what divide the route into its 5 legs. Today, we'd be running the first 2 legs from Keswick back to Dunmail Raise, where we'd left a car. A total distance of about 44 kilometers with close to 3,500 meters of elevation gain, which we'd hope to finish in 8 to 9 hours.
So this is what, a 22-hour schedule?
22-hour schedule, yeah. So 8 hours for legs 1 and 2.
All right, let's do it.
There it is, Moot Hall.
Skiddaw over there, first one we're going to. 80 minutes.
So it's 8 a.m. We've just started on our recce of the first 2 legs of Bob Graham Round. From Moot Hall, of course, the official starting point. And we're heading up Skiddaw here, our first summit.
For the most part, we're going to walk anything that's significantly uphill. Going off way too hard up Skiddaws. A pretty common mistake a lot of people make, and then they get to the end of leg 1 and realise
They're gassed.
they've done themselves a bit too much, yeah.
Yeah.
So take it easy and settle into a pace in about an hour or 2.
Yeah, nice. Well, tell me about the terrain we're in here, what it used to be and what it is now.
I think the Lake District used to be fully forested before we used to farm it and cut all the trees down for farming and grazing. But there's been a lot of efforts, I think, recently. There's a big push to try and reintroduce, you know, native woodland and native plants and animals back into the lakes.
The Lake District was once home to dense forests of oak, birch, pine, and other native tree species. But over the centuries, it's been transformed to open fells and pastoral landscapes.
One down, 14 to go.
The region is one of the wettest areas in England, and you can expect wet weather at any time. But I'd been experiencing an unusual dry spell.
Yeah, pretty much any other time of the year, other than when we've had a dry spell like this ground is just slop.
Yeah.
It'd just be shin deep, bog, heat, marshy land.
Pretty slow going.
Yeah, very slow. You gain so much time on a bob if you've got it like this.
Yeah, you can see how this would just be, you just sink into your knees here. Feeling very lucky to have the dry weather that we have right now.
Wet weather can definitely make the terrain slower and much more dangerous. It's no coincidence that the 2 recent speed records were both set on dry days.
Over the years, there's been people who've turned up and they've just come and done it and they've expected to get help because there's that community with the Bob Graham round. But to experience the Bob Graham is to come and look at the route and just to get to know it a little bit before you actually do it, because on the day it goes so quickly. You know, you're concentrating on your own effort, you're concentrating on eating and just getting your head down and getting round. But seeing parts of the route and meeting the people is one of the most important things, I think.
Come on in. You guys? All right, we just filled up some water down at that river there. Looks more like a creek, but apparently that can be like waist high. And we're making our way up to Blencathra now. Okay, so now down Halls Fell. This will be the most technical part of the day for sure. That's our next summit there, pretty much straight up. All right, so start of leg 2. We're on our way up to Clough Head. We're expecting that to take about 50 to 55 minutes. We've refilled our water. There's going to be basically no water on the entire next leg. Pretty much until close to the end here. So we did just refill at the Cricket Club, but it's getting really hot, so we'll see how long this 1.5 liters lasts.
The sustainability of the Bob Graham round is something I thought about a lot, and I think my view on it's changed over the years, because obviously myself, I've done some filming with Salomon on the round itself. I had, you know, multiple paces on each leg. If you get a lot of people running on a path or where there's not a path, they'll become a path. If we want to protect the route and the round, I think it's important for us to have a think about how many paces we're having on each leg. You know, maybe look at 1 or 2 rather than 4 or 5. And obviously this will reduce the footfall on the course. Over the years, there has been some points as well where the Bob Graham Association have said, like, we're not going to honour any attempts for about a year just to help things grow back and come back to life.
So that's where we came from over there, Skiddaw, and then across to Blencathra, down Halls Fell there. And 55 minutes, right on target.
See leg 3 over there, or parts of leg 3. Got Bowfell, the kind of pointy one over there. Then going up to S Pike and Great End, and I think you can see Scarfell Pike as well. And all the way around and all the way back.
One leg at a time.
Yeah.
So we're heading up there, straight across to Great Dodd.
The route has certainly gotten easier over the years, since Bob Graham himself would have first done it. And part of the fun and the challenge is the fact that you need to navigate the route yourself. Of course, in really bad weather with poor visibility, even a GPX track can be hard to follow.
So when Billy Bland set the record in the 80s, you know, and that stood for 30 years until just recently broken by Killian. Back then there was no paths, you know, you'd be lucky if there's, I don't know what number Billy was, but probably 30, 40, 50 people had ran the route, so you know, there was no massive footfall. They only had a few paces on each leg. Although we want to showcase what we've got on our doorstep and showcase the Bob Graham for what it is, because it is an amazing challenge and a beautiful route. We also want to preserve it and look after it for future generations.
Heading up there to Whiteside, straight line it off here and find the trod. This is Helvellyn. That's the 3rd highest in the lakes, and it's the highest point you'll hit until Scarfells at middle of leg 3.
Summits are coming much quicker here on leg 2.
Yeah, so that's still fell. First summit on leg 3.
Yeah.
It looks absolutely tiny from down here. When you get to Dunmail and you look up at it, it's massive. Just remember when you're down there looking up at it, how little it is from here.
Yeah. Perspective is everything.
Yeah, that's Fairfield, so it's just out and back to Fairfield and then up and over Seat Sandal and then we're down and done.
Looks big from here.
It is big.
Yeah.
It is big, but it's only about 40 minutes and 10 to 15 of that's descending down, so it's not that big, it's not as big as it looks.
Okay.
The heat had really begun to take its toll on both of us by this point, and given the unseasonably warm weather, I was starting to feel that it may not be the usual rain, wind, and fog that would be a challenge for me, but potentially the heat.
This kind of heat just makes all the difference in the world when doing a route like this. Easily raises your heartbeat by 4 or 5 beats, and you really have to drink, and it can make it hard to eat as well.
Yeah, I'm usually cocky about how I cope well in the heat, but today's just been brutal.
Whoa, that was a tough one. Last summit for the day. Close to 3,400 meters, 42K. It was a big day, and this is only 2/5 of the round, but it's still a big day.
It had taken us just under 9 hours to bag the first 15 of the 42 peaks on the round. That equates to roughly 23-hour pace, meaning I was going to have to run these 2 legs at least an hour faster before covering another 60 kilometers to hit my A goal of a 22-hour finish. The middle section of the route is the most difficult to access, especially solo without a car drop. So to recce this, I started from a hamlet called Seathwaite to gain the ridge partly through leg 3 to do an out and back to Bowfell, then along the rest of leg 3 down to Wasdale, before running the entirety of leg 4 to Honister Pass, where I could then follow the road back to my car. Legs 3 and 4 definitely have the most challenging terrain on the route, and with some of the most difficult navigation. And there was quite a bit of rain in the forecast for later in the afternoon, so I was going to have to be efficient.
So that was Bowfell, the end of my little out and back here for the day. So now I'm heading back in the direction of the Bob on leg 3. I can see where I have to go up there. It's going to get a lot more challenging.
I think one of the biggest challenges for the Bob Graham round is the terrain actually. I wouldn't call it technical, it's just rough and difficult to run. Don't get us wrong, there's certain sections where it's on a half decent path, but a lot of it is sort of off route and off trail. "66 miles is quite an undertaking. You could probably go and do a race in Europe and do it in 66 miles in 12 hours, where you come here and you maybe struggle to do it in 20, and I think that's testament to how difficult it really is.
For many years after Bob Graham's initial feat, the round remained a relatively obscure challenge. But as interest in fell running grew, so did attempts at breaking his record. Billy Bland made a significant impact in 1982 by setting a new record of 13 hours and 53 minutes, which would stand for another 36 years. It wasn't until 2018 that Spanish ultra-runner Kilian Jornet broke Billy Bland's long-standing record by an hour, with a time of 12 hours and 52 minutes. And just 4 years later in 2022, an American runner named Jack Coenzel would manage to take almost another 30 minutes off Kilian's time, finishing his round in an incredible 12 hours and 23 minutes.
All right, here we go, start of leg 4.
The round has also seen impressive performances by female athletes, like Nikki Spinks and Jasmine Paris, who in 2016 completed the round in 15:24. 4 years later, Beth Pascal ran it in 14:34, a record that still stands today.
Still got to make it way over there.
We've had some really good people come and try and run the Bob Graham, and they found it really tough. I can remember, obviously, Scott Jurek come once. I supported him and Ricky Gates on his first and second leg, and I can remember him at the end, he said it's one of the hardest things he's done, and, you know, Scott's run some big races and some long runs, and, you know, to hear that coming from somebody like him who's done so much, it is a tough route. The Bob Graham's, it's not to be underestimated.
Looks like I'm finishing up just in time. It's starting to rain again here, and I think I might have heard some thunder off in the distance as well. So good thing I'm on my way down now to Honister Pass, where the slate mine is, and from there I'll just traverse across back to my car, just a few kilometers away.
We've got a month's worth of rain falling tonight.
Yeah.
In about 12 hours.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming in here.
Yeah. We're not safe anywhere.
I'm so glad that I did not get caught out in that. This is a lot of rain. And there's a lot of lightning too, so this could be really dangerous to be up in the fells in this weather.
The round has seen a few changes in its route over the years, with slight variations in the list of peaks, though the core challenge remains the same. But now, of course, we have the benefit of GPX tracks, and even a detailed map of the entire route. Bob Graham himself had pacers, and it's still required that runners have a witness for each summit, so 1 or 2 separate pacers are typically used for each leg. Fortunately, there's now a Facebook group where you can ask for help, so between this and my own network, I managed to assemble a team pretty easily. A local runner named Chris had reached out offering to pace me on leg 5, so we met up to scout it out together.
So, yeah, what I was going to show you today was these little detours around the down climbs off of Robinson. Mm-hmm. Just to avoid these down climb sections when your legs are really tired and maybe your knees are sort of have had their day. So it adds on a tiny little bit, but it means that you can get down fairly comfortably without having to slide down on your buttocks.
So sort of creating our own switchbacks then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. About 2 hours out and back, something like that.
We parked at the end of the road in a hamlet called Littletown so that we could climb backwards along the course to the slate mine at Honister Pass, before running back along the route in the right direction to our car. That would leave just a 10-kilometer section of pavement to the finish in Keswick on leg 5.
You'll be able to smell Keswick from here, and it's all tarmac from here. Very small section of like crushed path sort of leading into Keswick, but yeah, pretty much road all the way.
Nice.
And then a nice run up to Moot Hall where everybody will be cheering. Where people will be coming out the pubs, and there'll be a pint waiting for you from the Round, which is the pub directly by the Moot Hall. There's a tradition of them just bringing out a pint for whoever's finishing the Bob Graham round there, so it's something to look forward to.
I can taste it now. All right, one down. We're gonna head straight across there. Some military planes doing some low-level flying.
Honister is the last operating slate mine in England. The slate produced here is known for its high quality and durability. And the site has also become a tourist attraction, offering guided tours that delve into the history of slate mining and the geological significance of the region.
Okay, that was just a quick stop at Honister Slate Mine to refill our water bottles. And now we're back on our way. We're now heading in the direction of the Bob Graham Round, at least the direction I'll be taking.
That weekend, it was time for me to check out of my B&B in Cockermouth. So I took the opportunity to spend a couple of days exploring the sites a few hours northeast, close to the Scottish border, including a UNESCO World Heritage Site called Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall is a Roman fortification which spans 117 kilometers or 73 miles from coast to coast. It was built during Emperor Hadrian's reign in the 2nd century AD to separate Roman-controlled territory in the south from the northern regions inhabited by indigenous tribes. This is also where the Sycamore Gap is located, a spot famous for the iconic sycamore tree that, until recently, had been growing within this dramatic dip in the landscape. This landmark became especially famous after being featured in the film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, starring Kevin Costner. But sadly, it was cut down just a few months after my visit, in what police believed was a deliberate act of vandalism. The tree was thought to have been more than 300 years old.
So I'm up at Hadrian's Wall, and there just happens to be a race happening today, a 70-mile race that is called the Wall, that pretty much follows the entire wall from west to east. Nice job.
Straight down the second part.
70-mile run today.
Okay.
Yeah, running Carlisle to Newcastle, along the wall, along the Hadrian's Wall, yeah. So we're about 24 miles in now, and however many more to go, 44 to go, I think.
Nearby, Vindolanda is an ancient Roman fort, known for its exceptional archaeological discoveries. Thanks to the anaerobic ground conditions, thousands of items have been preserved that normally would not survive, like clothing, shoes, and handwritten Roman tablets. It's the largest collection of leather items found anywhere in the Roman Empire. I then drove about an hour south to Kendal, which would be my home for the next week. Kendal is another picturesque market town and home to Kendal Castle. It's also known for its Kendal mint cake, which has powered many an adventure in the fells. So unfortunately, I just received an email from the Bob Graham 24-Hour Club asking that I reschedule my attempt. I'd originally planned to start on the Friday evening, which would have me finishing late afternoon, early evening on Saturday. But unfortunately, there's a market that takes place in the main square right by Moot Hall at the finishing point for the Bob. And I guess there's been a couple of conflicts the last few weeks here with runners coming through the main square with large groups of supporters and then celebrating, which the owners of the stalls haven't appreciated. And I guess it's conflicted with their ability to conduct business. So instead, I'm going to start on Saturday evening, which would have me finishing on Sunday. And so I just resubmitting my form. You have to register your attempt with the Bob Graham 24-Hour Club. And I'm about to also notify all of my pacers and my crew and try to reconfirm everyone for a day later. And I'm just hoping that everybody's going to be available. So bit of a hiccup here, but not the end of the world. I'll deal with it. There was just one small section of the round left for me to recce, the first half of leg 3. So I met up with my friend Jacob for an out and back from Dunmail Raise back to Bowfell, where I'd turned around on my solo mission a couple of weeks prior.
So these are little weaknesses in the side of the hills, and the sheep use them to scratch their backs.
Yeah.
And as they do, it wears away the hill and you get these little embankments.
Sheep caused erosion.
Yeah. The only animal that can do damage in the lakes.
Okay, so it's time to climb up there.
I was feeling increasingly confident now that I'd seen so much of the route. But many people fail on their first or even second attempt at the Bob Graham Round. In fact, only 1 out of 3 are successful.
Well, it did rain pretty hard last night, and it rained pretty much throughout the night. And the bogs are back. The hills are alive. There are little waterfalls and springs everywhere that wouldn't have been here just a couple of days ago. That's super cool, yeah. So now it looks like we're gonna follow that ridge up along there to Bowfell, our last summit for the day.
Peak of the day.
That's it. No views, unfortunately, today. This is definitely more in line with the typical fell running experience, I guess. Okay, so a chimney is a rake.
It's a rake, yeah. And then you've got thwaites, which are clearings. And you've got moors, like Grassmoor, which is one of the peaks, which are big hilly fields, basically.
What about a pike?
Oh, pikes are peaks.
Pikes are peaks.
Pikes are peaks. Pike of Blisco, Pike of Stickle.
As opposed to a fell.
Yeah. Fells are the hills in general.
Okay.
Like Hall's Fell you did isn't a peak.
Yeah.
I'd now seen every step of the round.
Good day.
Yeah.
Thanks for the company.
There was just one thing left that I needed to experience. The next weekend, I returned to Dunmail Raise so that I can now help pace 2 runners on their attempt at the round.
Okay, it's Saturday morning, it's 6:45, and I'm here at Dunmail Raise. And today I'm pacing leg 3 for 2 runners named Keith and Ross. I got a ride here from Jenny and Alex, who are crewing for them. We'll be muling for them, we'll be carrying their stuff, some extra water, and of course pacing, helping navigate. So we're just monitoring the trackers right now. They appear to be coming down off Fairfield, and then they have one more kind of sharp climb and then one more descent, and they'll be coming down off of this fell right behind me here shortly.
There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 starters yesterday.
Okay.
And then we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 starters today.
Wow.
So there was a group that started 15 minutes before them. But I think they've overtaken them now, I believe.
There's a really good atmosphere in the car park already at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
At Throwkells, yeah, lots of people coming through.
Keith is a competitive trail runner sponsored by Innovate with some impressive performances under his belt.
You're on time?
Yeah. Just cannot wait for some clouds to clear. We've had a few errors early on. That leg was alright though.
Although this attempt at the round was meant to be a team effort with his good friend Ross, supported by their buddies from the army.
Go on, let's go.
Okay, here we go. So far, so good?
So far, so good. Yeah, my legs are burning a bit now.
Yeah.
We're all right. We're okay.
Looks like you guys are eating well.
Yeah, we are, yeah. We're fed up with gels, so that was a good pit stop then.
Yeah.
Keith had reached out to me on Instagram when he saw that I'd be in the area to see if I could help out, and offered to pace me in return. It was a great chance to see how it all comes together in advance of my own attempt the following weekend, while paying it forward in the spirit of the round.
I do like leg 3, but not really the first half of it. Second half of leg 3 is very nice, if it's a nice day.
Yeah.
Which it isn't at the moment. And then leg 4, I do like leg 4.
Yeah.
Because you're close to the end, it's got some nice climbs, and yeah, once you know you've cracked those last few summits, you know you've kind of got it in the bag. It's a very different disposal.
There is a real community around it, and offering your support to them on their round is also important, you know, because they're in the same boat as you. They need help and support on the leg, just carrying the water and food. It's like it's a massive help. And that's the part of the Bob Graham community. It's like everybody goes out the way to help each other.
Next.
I've lost count of how many that one is.
It's straight down here.
Yeah.
We're into some shin deep bog here. Ooh. Ooh. Nicely done.
Oh, that was a pull and a half.
Go through the back of it. Over halfway.
There you go. Oh man.
What pointless fell. Complete boulders.
Yeah, just a time suck.
Just a time suck. Whoa.
Open the back.
Open the back of it. Leg 3, finito.
Ross first started training for the round nearly a decade ago, but suffered a near-fatal cardiac arrest before his originally scheduled attempt.
So I read about the Bob Graham, normally where everyone reads about it, which is Feet in the Clouds, and I was kind of captivated by it. I've been around the mountains and the fells my whole life, but never kind of done anything like that. So about 7 years ago I started training for it, and then about 12 weeks into training I had an unexplained kind of cardiac arrest when I was at home. Just randomly kind of dropped dead after breakfast, and my wife was next to me and she did CPR, and there happened to be an ambulance passing, and that was what saved my life. But ever since then it's always been there. And so leaving the army, I was in the right location, I had the time, I had the right connections, which is Keith, to kind of really help me with my training and push me. And so yeah, and then here we are.
Getting it done.
Getting it done. Well, so far, I've been all right. Still 2 legs to go.
Well done. Great job.
Hey,
Yeah. Sausage, yeah, but tomato sauce. Tomato sauce, yeah, it is.
Do you want to change anything?
Yeah, I'm going to change t-shirt.
Yeah, you guys have to catch up on your hydration, eh?
Yeah, we neglected it there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been quite cool, hasn't it? But still not drinking enough. You barrow.
Yeah, here we go.
AKA you bastard.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Have fun. See ya. Okay, these guys are off from Wasdale. So they've got a big climb ahead of them up there, and then a really beautiful leg. I think leg 4 is actually my favorite. But my work is done for today. I will be back here next week, of course, to take on the whole thing.
Keith and Ross finished the round in a time of 20 hours and 47 minutes. For Keith, this was about helping a friend realize a dream more than a decade in the making. It was then finally time for Audrey to join the fun. So I picked her up in nearby Manchester, before checking into a B&B in Keswick, just around the corner from Moot Hall, where we'd be spending our last week in the lakes. We had a lot to prepare, including solid food for at the end of each leg, and more easily digestible snacks for while on the run.
For this feast, you got rice, hard-boiled eggs, pickles, lemon cake, pancakes, with Nutella.
And before you know it, the day of the round, Canada Day, had arrived. So my gear is prepped and ready for tonight's attempt on the Bob Graham round. I've decided to run in the Salomon S-Lab Ultra 3s. It's been raining all day and it's supposed to rain all weekend, and I think these are going to perform pretty well on the wet rocks. We're going to see a lot of boulders and some scree, and they'll also provide some good protection underfoot as well. I'm going to wear the Salomon Advanced Skin 12-liter pack. I'll have my Salomon Bonatti jacket for the rain. For a headlamp, I'm going to use the Phoenix HM65 RT as usual. That'll be for the back half of leg 1 and most of leg 2. And then I have a tracker here that I rented from Open Tracking that's going to allow my crew and my pacers to follow along with my progress. I then have quite a bit of kit as backup that I'm going to give to Audrey to carry with her to most of the transition points. I'm going to start with 2 bottles of NAC's Ultra Energy Drink Mix powder that has protein and amino acids as well as carbohydrates. I then have some pre-portioned run food for each leg, so a handful of NAC's Ultra Energy waffles, another energy bar. I've got a spare pole just in case I break one. And then I have a second kit. Audrey's going to be at 3 of the transition points, but I'm lucky to have a second crew who is going to go to Wasdale, which is a much more remote location. So they're going to head there tonight. I then have a spare headlamp, the Phoenix HL32 RT. It's a little bit lighter and smaller than the HM65 RT that I'll be using as my primary headlamp, but it's still quite bright. And then I do have the route preloaded on my Coros Vertex 2 with waypoints for all 42 peaks. So while I do have pacers who are going to help me with navigation, at the end of the day, navigating and making sure I hit all the peaks, that's up to the runner. So I'm going to be navigating as well using my watch. Okay, let's go.
Go then.
Well, it's 7:30, Saturday night, and we're just walking over to Moot Hall here for my 8 p.m. start. Pretty nervous. I've had a lot of nervous energy all day. Can't wait to get this adventure started.
For leg 1, I had one pacer, Les, who had responded to my post on Facebook. My friends Ben and Sarah had traveled up from London and would be joining us as well for the climb to the first summit.
Here we go, following legend Jeff on his Bob Graham round. Let's head down here and up Skiddaw. Good luck, Jeff.
So just making our way through town, across Fitz Park, and then over to Skiddaw, our first summit of the day. Hi, Emma. Thanks.
When we reached Skiddaw, I said goodbye to Ben and Sarah, and then Les and I continued on as the sun set.
All right, momentary break from the wind here. Boy, was it windy up there. I think it's gonna be like this for most of the night. The rain on and off. It gets pretty cold too. So the hard shell will be coming on again once we hit that wind. But anyway, for now, it's a nice relief.
After reaching Great Calva, we'd have one last big climb up to Blencathra, after which we'd need to scramble down Halls Fell Ridge, which is really the crux of leg 1.
Just waiting at the checkpoint for Jeff. According to the tracker, it looks like he's making his way to the final peak of this leg, Blencathra. So I'm just going to set up everything in the car to be ready when he gets here.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Leg 1, the only tough part about it is the descent down to the road crossing at Threlkeld. There's a few ways you can go down there and, you know, they're all steep and it's hard.
This is where we'd end up facing the strongest gusts of wind of my entire round, which actually knocked Les and I right over a few times and forced us to brace ourselves on the rocks as we scrambled down Halls Fell.
How you feel, Jeff? That wind was
wild, man.
Made it interesting.
Hey! Welcome, welcome!
Thank you.
Hi.
That wind.
That wind is real?
Is like, you have to lean into it.
We met up with Audrey at the first road crossing, a little ahead of schedule.
How do we do on time? 4 minutes, great.
We did really good. Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah.
I'll see you a little bit later.
Yeah.
Okay, have a good night, guys. That was very efficient.
I was out of there in just 4 minutes, 10 minutes less than I'd planned for, so I now had a 14-minute buffer on 22-hour pace. But it was dark now, and unfortunately, the weather was only getting worse.
Nice and sheltered on this climb up to Great God.
Luckily for me, though, I had the absolute best pacer I could ask for on leg 2, Andy Berry, who had paced this leg a number of times, including for Jack on his record-setting round. And he holds a few records himself, including the Lake District 24-hour record for summiting 78 peaks in 23 hours and 23 minutes.
Feeling good so far. I think I'm staying on top of my hydration, my nutrition, and finally getting to experience some real Lake District weather here.
Visibility dropped to about 5 meters, but I was able to basically just follow Andy's feet, only occasionally confirming the route and summits against the track on my watch.
Yeah, we've had some high quality sideways rain. Good job, my man.
Being on the fells, you know, 1 minute you can have really nice weather and then next you can have absolute torrential rain and caught in the clag.
Okay, it's 2:20 a.m. We are descending Dollywagon Pike. Gracefully, as you can see. Look at him go. Whoop, whoop.
Fairfield is probably the crux of leg 2, at least mentally, because not only is it a steep climb, but it's also an out and back. before climbing up Seat Sandal on the other side. But from there, I knew it would be all downhill to Dunmail Raise, where I'd be seeing Audrey again, hopefully just before sunrise.
Okay, last top of leg 2.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Feeling good. The wind died down for a minute here, which is nice. I think we're about 25 minutes away from the next changeover, the next checkpoint, on roughly 22-hour pace. So feeling good, feeling optimistic.
The time is there for you to do this. So even if this next bit, the weather takes its toll a bit, do not panic, do not fret. Keep eating, keep moving. You've got this, pal. I can see it. You've got it in the legs, you've got it in the head. Let's get it done. Yes, mate. Another one bites the dust.
We made up another 7 minutes on my time estimate for that leg.
Save this for later.
And after refueling, restocking my supplies, and dropping my headlamp, we were out of there in just 5 minutes.
Good luck, guys.
So I now had a 35-minute buffer ahead of my estimated 22-hour pace. But unfortunately, that buffer wouldn't last long.
I think that's probably the most difficult leg. It's certainly the longest and the most rugged terrain.
I'd been joined on this leg by 2 pacers, Michael and Keith, who I'd paced for the week before. It was pretty cool for him to be able to repay the favor and to now relive the experience with him.
Don't know if you'll quite hear me, but it's probably the least windy spell of leg 3 so far. So we're about halfway through the round for Jeff. Still moving well, nice and alert. It's that most difficult bit of the round, really. You've passed the adrenaline rush of the early legs and you're not near the finish yet. So we're just working our way up Bow Fell now.
It's important as well to keep eating and drinking. And I mean, that's what your paces are there for. They're there to sort of remind you, just to keep you ticking over with food and stuff.
Woo! It's been a tough couple of hours. The weather really took a turn for the worst. We're just heading up Scaffold Pike now. And then we just got Scafell and then we're down into Wasdale. Thank goodness. Josh, you can see now, Clag's really come in, the wind's picked up. We've had some rain. Yeah, it's been tough, but Jeff's still moving well. And yeah, just 2 peaks to go on leg 3.
The scramble up to Scafell was a little bit trickier this time in the rain, but we eventually made it up without issue. Then all that was left on leg 3 was the long descent down to Wasdale campsite, where Ian and Caroline, my second support crew, would hopefully be waiting for me.
Leg 3, Jeff.
Another leg down.
How'd you feel?
We're getting there. I feel good. Feel good. I'm gonna eat some food. I think I'm hydrated, but I'll drink a bunch of water as well. Got a big climb ahead of us.
Yeah, straight up that.
Yeah, that's straight up that.
They had driven in the night before to get set up and to make sure they could get a good parking spot. This is the most difficult point on the route to access, and without cell service, it can be tricky to coordinate.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. A little tired.
Yeah, sure.
Weather kind of warmed me a bit, you know.
Yeah.
I would like to limit this to 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
I will swap these.
Leg 3 had taken me an hour and 21 minutes longer than I'd planned. So I had completely burned through my buffer and now had an additional 30 minutes to try to make up if I wanted to finish in under 22 hours.
You were due to arrive here at 10:34 and depart at 10:54. So you are in between 22 and 23.
Is there any big bottles of water?
So I'm going to make up a half hour.
Oodles of time.
The first climb on leg 4 is tough. After that massive descent from Scafell into the valley, you've got an equally steep climb up the other side. And of course now my legs were pretty much shot, so I had to really put my head down and push through this one. My new pacers, Ian and Benji, joined me for leg 4, and Michael decided to stay on for one more leg as well. I was starting to feel pretty tired, but we had a great group of guys, and the conversation was really flowing, so the time began to fly by. But around this point, I managed to break a pole, which definitely wasn't ideal. I actually had a spare pole in the car in case this happened, but of course I wouldn't be seeing Audrey for another 5 or 6 hours, and I had a bit of climbing to do before then. But fortunately, Ian had a similar size and generously offered me one of his, so I was back in business.
Well done. Yeah, steep was lovely. Well, there's another view back down to Wasdale. Sun shining.
What is this?
Jeff smiling.
What is this thing in the sky?
That yellow ball thing. That's the next one.
Great Gable is probably the toughest climb on Leg 4, if not one of the toughest on the round, because it is so steep and just really difficult when you're this fatigued. But once you're over that, you really do feel like you're on the home stretch. The last few climbs aren't too bad, and then it's just a short downhill into Honister Pass.
That's one of your summits, it's Brandreth. Great backdrop.
Alright, so it is Sunday, 2:30 p.m. and I'm here at Honister Pass. I think we're expecting Jeff here in the next 30 to 45 minutes, hopefully. I'm just waiting for this little shower to pass, and then I'm gonna set up everything in the trunk. Some food and change of socks and towel, and look like it's been raining quite a bit, so Jeff's probably wet and maybe he'll want to change clothes for this last leg. We'll see. How are you?
All right, how are you doing?
Good, good, thank you.
You want a cup of tea?
Got some more food for Jeff. Got him a Starbucks double shot of espresso. I have half a BLT sandwich, and then I'm just gonna pre-portion a couple extra bottles of NEC energy drink.
Along with my next two pacers, Duncan and Chris, a local filmmaker and runner named Jamie was waiting for me, who had planned to capture footage with his drone. But unfortunately, it was just way too windy.
Here he is, just finishing up leg 4 with his two pacers, Michael and Ian. Well done, well done! Woohoo! Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Glad to see you guys.
Good
to see you, Jeff. How you doing? Yeah, thanks, man.
All right.
Okay.
Do you need fresh socks?
Yeah, let's take socks, please.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Leg 4 had taken me about 10 minutes longer than I'd hoped, but I managed to make it up during the transition at Honister Pass, meaning I still had about a half an hour to make up now on the final leg to finish in under 22 hours.
I got water, I got food,
yeah.
I got that GoPro, poles.
Okay, see ya.
Unfortunately though, the last leg is the shortest, so running it 30 minutes faster wasn't going to be easy. This leg is definitely the most runnable, and I really felt like I had new legs. And it may not have looked like it, but I felt like I was flying through it.
There you go, Jeff.
I had of course recce'd this lake with Chris a couple of weeks prior, so it was pretty cool to be able to revisit it now with him and to bring it full circle. My eyes were completely bloodshot at this point from the hours and hours of wind drying them out. But on the final climb up to Robinson, I also began to get pretty emotional. Just the realization that after all of this work, all of this training and preparation, and just obsessing over this one challenge, it was basically now over.
The last climb, hey! Last climb of the Bob Graham Round.
Summit 42. Yes. Keswick in the background.
I didn't doubt this would happen, but it just seems so far away. It just seemed...
In the back.
What do you guys say we head back to Keswick, huh?
Victory lap.
The speed, here.
All we had left was one descent, followed by about 10 kilometers on the road.
So poles done with. Poles are done with.
I had a huge buffer on the 24-hour time limit, but I'd still have to make up some time if I wanted to sneak in under 22 hours, so the pressure was definitely on.
On the road, it's easy, isn't it? But not at the end of your Bob Graham, like.
Just passing through Newlands. Just moving really, really well.
Almost there, 5 kilometers.
We were soon joined by a fan who'd been watching me on the tracker, which was fun.
How are you doing?
Look at him. Look at him go.
Enjoyed it.
Here we go.
And as we counted down the miles and kept our eye on the clock, I knew it was going to be a close call.
You're running far better than I am, mate. Come on, come on. Right. Take the coat.
Go, go, go. Well done, you, well done. Come on, Jeff. You got it.
Yeah, Jeff! Woo!
How does that feel?
What's my time? Did I make it?
3:06. Yeah. You made it, buddy.
You could have told me I had 2 minutes left.
No. So you have 30 seconds.
Hi. You okay?
Yeah. This challenge, this entire month-long project, was by far one of the most rewarding experiences of my running career, and the realization of a dream that was years in the making.
Thanks, guys. That was so good.
Nearly broke me at the end.
And I owe so much to my team of 11 pacers and crew, not to mention everyone else from the local fell running community who supported me along the way.
Canadian record.
Yes, fastest Canadian.
I mean, there's only 2 of us who've done it.
Two. Fastest Canadian is what I'm gonna stick with.
The Bob Graham Round 24-Hour Club holds an annual banquet in the fall, but sadly I wasn't able to attend to collect my membership certificate in person. But I will be back, because one day I'd love to tick off all 214 of the Wainwrights. That's the list of Lake District fells described in Alfred Wainwright's iconic series of illustrated books, which includes many of the 42 I've now already done. And there's a similar challenge called the Paddy Buckley Round in nearby Wales, and another called the Charlie Ramsey Round in Scotland, which is said to be the hardest of them all. More than 2,800 people have completed the Bob Graham Round as of the end of 2023, but fewer than 60 people have done all 3 of the big rounds, and to my knowledge, no Canadians. So I'd love to one day become the first. After leaving Keswick, we spent a week sightseeing around the southern half of the country, as we prepared to spend the rest of the summer in the Alps. Audrey's race in Switzerland would be up next, and this was just the first in a series of my own goals for the season, so it would soon be time to begin preparing for the next one.